Welcome to the one and only Team 2.
Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, September the 2nd, 2024. And this will be my last show for a couple of weeks. Probably might even be about 3 weeks, I think. But we'll see how it all pans out. Actually, it will be 3 weeks. I'm back on the 17th. So really looking forward to getting away. But more importantly, looking forward to having a chat with all you boxing fans out there tonight. So we've got a few in the chat already. We've got Double G, we've got old mate Big J, we've got Tommy Dokes. How are you guys? Great to have you along. And as always, we'll get into all the questions and comments and whatever else you want to throw at me tonight. So as I said, this will be our last show for 3 weeks. So plenty to get through. What did we think of last Wednesday's? I was going to say the Zerafa and Brown fight, of course. There was a bloke who was the main event named Nikita Zhu against Cole Mazudia. What did you think of the show? What did you think of the undercard? What did you think of the show in general? Really keen to hear your thoughts. I've got a feeling there might be a few comments about Michael Zerafa. Well, maybe more particularly his brother as well. So we'll see how we go. So we'll get through to some comments. Let's start with Double G. Where are we there? All right. Kudos to No Limit banning Zerafa's brother. There you go, right off the bat. His actions are classed as assault in most states. Remember when Danny Green was the spokesperson for the federal government-backed Coward Punch campaign? I do remember that, Double G. Yeah, look, it's probably about all they could do was ban him for life. I mean, it's not really in their power, obviously, to press charges. That would be on Tommy McCurry. I'm not sure. I think I did see an interview with Tommy McCurry as well that while he what did he call them? Scumbags, I think he called the Zerafa family. So I don't think he's actually going to press charges. But anyway, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, as I said, mate, I think that's probably all they could do was to ban him. His actions are classed as assault. Yeah, well, hey, look, it was there in 4K, wasn't it? And it was interesting because you could almost see him coming. If you look back at the footage, you can see, of course, Tommy Brown back up, and I know we've all got differing opinions about who was the instigator and everything. I think we can't argue the fact that Michael was the one that went to the corner, and yeah, it was only words, but you can imagine a highly volatile situation here, a lot of emotion involved. That Tommy McCurry said to Michael Zerafa, pretty much get back and back off, whatever it might have been. And then, of course, the corners got involved and everything else. And then you see Jason Zerafa. You can see he had Tommy McCurry in his sights before he ever got in the ring. You could see it. You could see him jump on the ring apron. You could see him zone in on Tommy McCurry, and then he scooted around the back, and then boom. Now, I've got to say, I think I said in one of my videos the other day, Jason, you might need to work on the technique a little bit there, mate, because it didn't really do a lot of damage, did it? But he lined him up and he hit him square in the face. Now, regardless of the power of it or whatever it might have been, the fact is it was a deliberate punch to the face of an unsuspecting guy. So technically, if he was charged, I don't think there'd be much argument from anyone. So, yeah, and I'm not sure whether Danny Green still is the spokesperson there, Double G, but I know he was, of course. So, yeah, it was a pretty comical affair. All right, if they didn't come down hard on him, it might have set a precedence in the future for other wannabes to get in the ring. We don't need another riot like the one at Alamo versus Kicker. Yeah, I remember that. What was that? Was it about 2009 or something like that? It might have even been earlier. I can't remember, but that was probably some of the worst scenes you've ever seen in a boxing ring. And I remember it was Willie Kickett. He had a lot of ability back in the day, but he was stopped in the first round by Elamar, who did have a bit of a check-it background, as would come out later down the track. And it was just absolute pandemonium in the ring. So, of course, the other night was nowhere near that, but we don't want to see it. I think you're right. It does set a precedence if we do allow it. I would have thought maybe, and maybe Sam Correct me if I've got this wrong, but so far there hasn't been really anything from the combat board. I'm not sure, but they should be probably banning him from, or for a amount of, not maybe not for life, but banning him for a significant amount of time from any events in New South Wales. Because let's face it, if he doesn't go to a no limit show, it's not going to kill him, is it? I mean, it's not really a big deal. But ban him from the New South Wales, or maybe even go a step further. I'm not sure if the ANBF can be involved. I know they just oversee the belts, or the belt, the ANBF belt. Maybe they've got to get all states involved and they all ban him. So lots of things they could probably do. But one thing we don't want to do, Double G, is encourage that and let him off the hook. It doesn't matter, whether, by the way, whether it happens in the ring or outside the ring. We have even seen it in the past where fighters have got out the ring and it's carried on out there. We don't want that at all. There needs to be a little bit stronger decision-making or actions from the combat boards and stamp this out. We have a hard enough time, don't we, with boxing, with the sport as it is, let alone, putting up with that as well. All right, Big J, how are you there, mate? Zerafa's brother has been, there you go, has been charged with pending further investigation. Your thoughts? Zepeda versus George and Liam versus Haney. Okay, we'll just quickly change the subject there. Well, Zepeda versus George isn't happening by all accounts. He's going to fight Tevin Farmer on the 16th of November in Saudi Arabia. And George, there are rumours about Teofimo Lopez. I haven't heard anything either way, but my suspicions would be that it would be Teofimo Lopez, but who knows? And Liam versus Haney, would love to see it. Big J, that fight makes a lot of sense. Haney's obviously been to Australia a couple of times. What is he, the WBC champion in recess or whatever it might be. And Liam is looking for the biggest fight. This is Paro. He's looking for the biggest fight possible in his first title defence. So I would love it, Big J. I'd especially love to see it up in far north Queensland. I think that would be awesome for boxing up there and for Liam to have a hometown fight. So as I said, mate, I don't think we're going to get George versus Zepeda, but definitely Liam versus Haney is in the mix for sure. Winwood, all right, Alex, yes, this weekend, isn't it? Winwood for the win. If he wins, it's a far more significant win than Fenech when he beat the Japanese fighter Satoshi Shingaki, of course, for his IBF title in 1985. Has it been that long? Wow, nearly 40 years. Winwood's opponent is a long-established champion with a 10 defense streak, where Fenech's opponent was a 10-fight novice. Well, it's a good point there, Big J. And now, while I was just getting set up here, I did actually bring Satoshi Shingaki's record up. This is the guy that Jeff Fenech beat for his IBF belt back in 1985. Now, I'm not trying to pick on Jeff Fenech's record here, by the way, or his choice of opponent. It wasn't his fault that Shingaki had the belt. But looking at his record, actually, I think he had 10 fights exactly. He'd had one loss against Dodi Boy Penaloza for the IBF light flyweight title back in 1983. Geez, that must have been when the IBF first came about, because I thought it was 84, but obviously that says 83. The opponents 4-3-1, 1-2, 1-3, 2-8, 27-3. They had one that was 12-0. That was Dodi Boy Penaloza. 8-3 or 8-3-1, 3-7-2, 9-11-5. And in the fight, no, that can't be right. That cannot be right. Help me out here, Big J. The fight he had before his defense against Jeff Fenech was a 15-round split decision win over a guy named Joves de la Puz, who was having his debut. Surely that can't be right. Was making his debut. And according to BoxRec, that was his one and only fight, was the loss to Shingaki. That's got to be a mistake. That was in 1984. So that was the fight that Satoshi Shingaki had right before Jeff Fenech. And then he, of course, lost a rematch to Jeff, and then had 3 more fights after that for 3 wins. That can't be right that he fought a guy having his debut in one of his title defenses. But I'm with you there, Big J. I think it would be far more significant. Look, we didn't really know much about it back in the day, and look, it's a long time ago. But yeah, in this day and age with BoxRec and social media and everything else, all these YouTube channels and reporters out there, that we can dig a little bit more deeper. I don't think we knew anything about Satoshi Shingaki back in the day, except he was a world champion. So, but with Alex Winwood's opponent, now let me just quickly bring up his record there. Big J. Sorry, I'm looking away there. Shouldn't be doing that. Where are we? So Alex Winwood, so he's 4-0, and he's fighting Thama Noon Nyong Trong, and he's 24-0. And you're right, he's 10 defenses, and all those opponents he's faced have been pretty impressive. His last one was 55-2. Before that, 18-1, 23-6-1, 19-7, 10-0, 25-3. So you get the gist there. So he's a legitimate world champion for is it the WBA, is it? Or IBF, whatever it is. Whatever it is anyway. But either way, yeah, I'm with you there, Big J. All right. Now, Tommy, where are you there? I'm just looking at your comments as we go. There it is. They're a little bit all over the shop to get us started. All right. Tommy Doak says, Lynden, cool to see you go live. I thought that last Walking Boxing would be it. No, mate, the show's got to go on. Is there one place in America in particular you're looking forward to exploring? I heard that Niagara Falls was cool. Yeah, well, it is very, very cool, Tommy. Of course, that's more so Canada. It is on the border. The Niagara Falls separates Canada and the States, but it's more of the Horseshoe Falls, the big one that you're all familiar with. That is actually on the Canadian side. The Americans got the short end of the stick, which is unusual. You would have thought back in the day they would have said, nope, that part of the Niagara Falls is ours, but it's not. But I have been there many, many times, Tommy, Niagara Falls, and it is very cool to go to. Sometimes literally it gets very, very cold there, but no, it's an awesome place. But I'm not quite sure, Tommy. I'm really strangely enough looking forward to going. Well, I was going to say Gettysburg. I've always, well, no, I haven't always. Most recently, I've really got into the history of Gettysburg. And if you don't know the history of that, that was where the most bloodiest war of the Civil War happened in Gettysburg. It's pretty much where that was the end of the war. And Abraham Lincoln had his famous Gettysburg Address there, of course, with the name Gettysburg Address. So I'm looking forward to going there, but I'm being a little bit wanky here, Tommy. I'm being a little bit nerdish, or whatever you might want to call it, geekish. I'm looking forward to Philadelphia to doing the Rocky Tour. So on the steps, so running up the steps, going to all the movie sites and all that sort of stuff, all the filming locations. I'm really looking forward to doing that, and also going to Muhammad Ali's training camp up in Deer Lake. So there's plenty to do, mate. But strange enough, the thing is probably on the back burner is the Canelo fight in Las Vegas. That'll be great, of course. But I like getting over there and exploring a little bit of American history too. So I can't wait for that, mate. All right. So much ducked talk on boxing YouTube right now, with channels saying Loma and Shakur ducking Tank, Zepeda ducking Shakur, and Brian Norman ducking Boots. Any thoughts? Well, you're probably right on all fronts, Tommy. I don't know. Look, when it comes to ducking, I would think it'd be the managers or promoters or whatever you might want to call it. I think the fighters these days just fight whoever they're told to fight, unless the more extreme circumstances like a Mayweather or one of these old Canelo who really take charge of their career and they almost manage themselves. But when it comes to Loma and Shakur, I think Loma would sort of do I won't say he'll do what he was told, but I think if Bob Arum said you're fighting Shakur, he'd fight Shakur, and if it was going to be Tank, he'd fight Tank. I think at this stage it's about legacy and money for him. Not sure Zepeda is ducking Shakur, Tommy. I think they would just be looking for the best fight for him, although Shakur would be a very, very tough fight for him, as would Tank. I think he would have probably a little bit better chance, strangely enough, against a Lomachenko or a Boa. What's the other guy's? No, I'm going to call him Bolchuk. That's a 154. Boa, you know the one, the other Ukrainian lightweight, the IBF champion. Sorry, WBO champion. So, yeah, I don't think the sort of duck. I think when it comes to Brian Norman, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not necessarily a duck, Tommy, or I'm sure you could describe it as one where his powers of be of just shit. We've just been given the WBA title, maybe no, not WBA, WBO title. So maybe let's just enjoy it, make a couple of defenses first, let the fight simmer with Boots, and then we'll get it on down the track. So it's all based on business decisions, all these things that go on behind closed doors. But either way, I don't care as long as they fight each other eventually. I'm not really stressed. All right, so going through some more comments there. I'm confused how this works. Oh, this is the TV. All right. So Shakur versus Cordina is the pay-per-view main event. Then after that, it's over for only one fight. ESPN Plus will air Bivol and Better Beef. That deal seems like it favours Bob Arum, not Eddie at all. It's a really strange one, Tommy, and I don't think I've ever seen this happen before. And again, it probably just shows the times that we're in where this might happen a little bit more. But if you don't know, what's going to happen is the undercard, which is going to be Shakur Stevenson, Joe Cordina as well. Is there a main event of the undercard? You know where I'm getting. So the main fight is Bivol and Better Beef. That's going to be shown on ESPN Plus. So if you're in the States and you've got ESPN Plus, that fight will be part of your package free of charge. The pay-per-view version is on DAZN, which is Shakur Stevenson and Joe Cordina. So that fight, that card, you'll have to pay for if you want to watch the rest of the card, and then you'll see the Bivol Better Beef fight for free if you've got the ESPN Plus. It's bizarre what's happening. I'm not sure whether it's going to hurt the card or help it, Tommy. I don't think there's any other way to look at it that it's going to hurt the card. I think most people go, hey, you know what? I'd like to see the undercard, but I'm not going to pay that, especially with Shakur Stevenson being the main fight on the undercard. Not going to bother. I'll just wait and watch it on YouTube later, and I'll wait for Bivol and Better Beef. Sure, there'll be a lot of fight fans that'll pay for it. No dramas at all, but yeah, it's a very, very strange one for sure there, mate. All right, Damien Rochester, how are you there, mate? Can't wait to see your review of the Rocky Tour. Well, it's going to be interesting, Damien. It's going to be interesting. I don't really know what to expect. The guy that takes me, I've got a private tour, by the way. It's just me and Rocky, quote unquote. He's an impersonator, but he does this for a living, and he's been officially endorsed by Sylvester Stallone. So obviously he's pretty good at it. He dresses up as Rocky, and not in the boxing gear. He just has his black coat on and his hat, and takes you around to where the house was, where the pet shop was, where the gym was, all that sort of stuff. And then I think we must finish at the museum or whatever it is where they have the steps. And so we'll do that, and then there'll be the statue and whatever else. So I was going to say I'm not going to really do the run up the stairs, but I've got to do it. Even if I do a slight little jog and I'll film it, but I'm sure there'll be 50 other people that'll be doing the same thing, so I won't feel as silly. But yeah, no, I can't wait. I think it'll be great. And I'm really looking forward to Damien actually getting up to the top of the stairs. I don't know how steep it is. I'm assuming it's a fair old run, but to turn around and see what Rocky's seen, the fountain at the bottom, and where, remember all the kids run around it, and of course they're all jumping up and down. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing, the view of Philadelphia from the top of those stairs that Rocky's seen in the movie. So I know it's a little bit geekish, but hey, call me a geek. I love Rocky, like probably a lot of you guys and girls out there. I grew up with Rocky. Rocky tragic back in the day, and I can't wait, mate. And I'm also doing the dinner at Rocky's restaurant as well, which is called Adrian's in the movie, or movies, the Creed movies, and Rocky Balboa, I think it was. So yeah, mate, can't wait. So just on the videos as well, guys, there'll be pretty much one every day. There'll be probably about 10 or 11 episodes, I would probably think, and it'll just be a day by day thing of what I'm up to. And again, half the trip, well, a lot of the trip won't be boxing. There'll be obviously the Gettysburg thing. There'll be the 9/11 memorial. There'll be Washington. So that's going to be included in there. But tune in and see it. And, you can either watch or you don't. But it should be a lot of fun. All right, Damien, I don't regret buying that No Limit pay-per-view. The whole night of fights was awesome, including the prelims. So there you go, Damien. You've done it. You took a risk, you bought the fight, and I'm glad you liked it, because I did too. Having said that, though, Damien, if I'm being honest, I thought it was probably one of the weaker shows they've done as far as the undercard goes, but they're all still good fights. Was it the Laban Stringer and Rocky Knight fight? That was probably the most controversial fight on the card. A lot of feedback about that. The Montieth Fathy fight was obviously a really bad mismatch, as was the Max McIntyre fight. That was a mismatch as well. Jazzy Parr sort of won her fight very, very clearly, I thought, but the Conor Wallace and Pampalone fight was great. And of course, the main event. All I can say to that fight is wow. And you would have seen in my videos, I was very frustrated with Nikita during that fight. He looked so good for the first 5 rounds. He just fell into that that thing that he seems to do more often than not, where he gets dragged into trench warfare. And look, we all love him for it. Cole Mazudia too, by the way. Hats off to him. But I was very frustrated watching the fight. I was like, Nikita, will you move? Will you clinch? Will you do something except just stand there and go punch for punch? Hey, that works in the Rocky movies, but not so much in real life. In the Rocky movies, we sort of know what's going to happen. We know who's going to win eventually. But in real life, I mean, it's just hard in your mouth stuff. And I just thought he made what should have been, I'm not going to say it should have been easy, but it should have been, for me, Cole Mazudia should have been so custom made for Nikita. He should have looked brilliant, and he did for 5 rounds. But then he allowed Cole Mazudia back into the fight. I thought Cole Mazudia and his team were great. I thought, because he's with Sam Goodman's camp now, I think. Obviously, they'd done their homework. They'd worked on a game plan, and it worked. But, geez, Nikita Tszyu made it so much easier for Cohen to get back into the fight and land the right hand. And not just right hands, a lot of other punches. And it was just frustrating for me. As much as I admire Cole Mazudia and admire both guys for what they did in the fight, it was an extremely frustrating 4 rounds from the 5th round onwards. And look, to his credit, he got him out of there when he had him hurt. But again, I just think he made what should have been probably a clear-cut win into just all-out warfare. So, again, congratulations to both guys. But Nikita, mate, listen to your corner and don't get off the rails, okay? All right, Big J, what do you got there, mate? We're on to the girls. Sky Nicholson has blocked me on X. Can't imagine what I've done. Geez, I wonder what you've said. No, I don't think you've. Have you? Yeah, I wonder what you might have said. Not even Ebony Bridges has me despite all I've said about her. Yeah, look, if I'm being honest, Big J, I think it's a bit childish by these boxers who block people like yourself who have a bit to say. I get it. If you're messaging them and you're abusing them or insulting them or whatever it might be, sending them explicit photos, whatever you do these days, Big J, I don't know. That's a bit different. But if you're just simply commenting on posts and all that sort of stuff, well, I don't know. I think you got to have a thicker skin. A lot of them seem very precious. Probably the main one for me is Mr. Zerafa. He's probably the most precious out of them all. The amount of people I've talked to that he's messaged or confronted or whatever it might be, just because they might have said something that wasn't overly complimentary. I mean, come on, you've got to be a little bit more grown up than that. Just laugh it off. I'm sure you got a comeback or two, but to actually confront people and direct message them or whatever it might be, I just think it's pretty childish. I think when especially someone like Michael Zerafa, who puts himself out there like he does, has a lot to say, I think you got to probably put up the fact that a lot of people aren't going to take kindly to that and they're going to let you know about it. So, but in this instance, I'm not sure whether it's been used. I know you've had a bit to say about her in the past, I think, Big J, but nothing that's derogatory or insulting. It's just purely stating your opinion. So I would have thought she might have been a bit thicker skinned than that, mate. But anyway, that's her prerogative. What's that, Damien? What's that, scumbags? And you were the one charging a fighter. Well, yeah, look, that's the opposing view. This is Tommy McCurry we're talking about. I don't think, Damien, I'm sure everyone's got different point of views. The way I saw it is that at no point was he really threatening to engage with Michael Zerafa. But having said that, it could have definitely been interpreted as that, because Michael Zerafa, of course, I think he was in the wrong for starters, but I know the emotion was there. He went to center ring and he called, according to Tommy McCurry, he called Tommy Brown a quitter and a dog and all this sort of stuff. And I think, according to Tommy, and for what I probably agree with what he did, he turned around and pretty much said to Zerafa, get out of his face and piss off in those top. Well, I'm sure the words were a little bit stronger than that. But also, you've got to probably expect that the corner are going to be very, very protective of Michael. They don't know what Tommy McCurry is going to do, and they jump in. Should they be punching him in the face? Absolutely not. Damien, no dramas. Get the security in there. Separate them, do whatever. But I think, to be honest with you, both camps were at fault. But Jason Zerafa crossed the line when he sort of punched Tommy McCurry in the face. It should not stand. All right, Double G. What's that there? At least Mundian was a kind of lovable villain. His trash talk was mainly about how good he was. Poor Mick thinks he's this polarizing villain, but for me, he's gone about it the wrong way. I just think they're completely different, Double G. If I'm being honest, I don't think Anthony Mundine was anything like what Michael Zerafa is now. You're right. Anthony Mundine, he talked it up. He told everyone how good he was. He, you know, I know he said a few polarizing things as well, but it was more about him just being that outspoken guy, and his team, like it was a really out there type of team. You know what I'm talking about. But for Michael Zerafa, it's to the point where people legitimately hate this guy, and that's where it's different. Because I think with Mundine, a lot of people wanted to see him get knocked out, but I think there was always that respect of Anthony Mundine and what he brought to the table. I think they realised he was a star, and yes, they might have wanted to see him get knocked out and everything else, but I think above all, they respected Anthony Mundine and what he was doing for the sport here in Australia, and the entertainment and the eyeballs on the events were just massive. Whereas I think Michael Zerafa's nowhere near it. I don't think he has a supporter base at all, or if he does, it's very, very small, and he doesn't have those people that are tuning in. Yes, there's probably people that would like to see him get knocked out, but there's no way Michael Zerafa could do a pay-per-view. Anthony Mundine headlined, I think, for pretty much every single fight of his career, bar maybe his last couple. He was the main event in a pay-per-view. Michael Zerafa could not carry a pay-per-view. So that probably shows you where they're at. Again, Michael, if you're watching, I'm not having a crack at you here, mate. I'm just stating the facts and my opinion. So don't get too stressed about it. But that's the difference with Anthony Mundine. People lined up to see him fight. They packed the pubs. They bought the pay-per-views, where with someone like Michael Zerafa, they aren't doing any of that. And as I said, there's no way he could headline a pay-per-view here in Australia. It just wouldn't sell. And as I said, that is the difference. All right, Mutsy, how you going there, mate? Looking forward to seeing the Monster back in action tomorrow night. Yeah, I'm a little bit pissed I'm going to miss that, Mutsy. I think we've got a feeling what the end result's going to be, Mutsy. I really respect TJ Doherty for going over there. I said on my video this morning that my man Mike Altamura's over there with him, his manager. I'm sure he'll be well prepared. I'm sure he'll give his best effort, but geez, it's very hard to see anything happening apart from a early round knockout for in a way. But TJ Doherty, he's very cagey, very experienced, and he might hang around for a few rounds. But yeah, I don't think it's going to end well for TJ Doherty, Mutsy. Tommy, the best fan riot I ever saw was Gallotta and Bo the first fight. Yeah, well, he got disqualified in both fights, didn't he? I remember Foreman having to protect Larry Merchant and Jim Lampley. The fans were savage. Yeah, that was a crazy fight, wasn't it? And to think that it actually happened twice, or he got disqualified twice. And the strange thing is, Tommy, is that Gallotta was winning both fights clearly when he was disqualified. I just still can't get my head around. A quick story about Gallotta, Tommy. When I was at the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta, we're out at the bars having a good night afterwards, after it was all over, drowning our sorrows. And I happened to back and I felt a drink hit the floor, and I turned around and there's big Andrew Gallotta looking down at me with this scowl on his face. I knocked the drink out of his hand and he was not impressed. He just glared down at me, and you know the look he gets. He's a pretty angry type of looking man, and I accidentally knocked his drink out of his hand. Luckily for me, he got over it pretty quick. But I must admit, the blood rushed a little bit after that, Tommy. But the interesting story. But I do remember that. It was pandemonium. Who was it? Was that the one where he was getting hit on the head with a mobile phone or something? Anyway, it mightn't have been a mobile phone because they mightn't have existed back then. But he was getting hit on the head with, might have been a shoe or something. I don't know. But he was getting hit on the head. But crazy times. Did you see Fundora vacating his WBO belt to avoid Bud, or will he accept the fight? I think he wants the fight, Tommy. Why wouldn't he want the fight? It's the biggest fight for him at 154. I know that the Spence thing seems to be dragging on. I'm not quite sure what's happening. Let me know if you guys know. But as far as I know, there's been nothing said about the Spence fight. Now, this is a fight that was supposed to happen maybe in November, December. But what are we in now? September. So that fight's not happening this year. So what I see is Fundora maybe sitting out the remainder of 2024 and maybe fighting early in 2025. And it could be against Bud, it could be against Tim. I don't know. But I would think that Sebastian Fundora will want to defend that belt against Bud. The issue is going to be, I think we're going to know more, Tommy, after the Canelo fight, because that's when Canelo will make the decision about will he fight Bud or not. That's when Bud will make his decision. Now, he has threatened that it's Canelo or bust. I don't see that happening. I think that if Canelo declines the fight with Crawford next year, that you will see Bud have at least one more fight, maybe two. And why not Fundora? He is the man apart from Bud at 154. I know we think our man Tim will be the one, but at the moment, as it stands, it is Sebastian Fundora as the second in line behind Bud. So why not take the next biggest fight? I still think, though, that Bud would see Tim Tszyu as being very, very attractive. Of course, he's got the Australian market as well. So, and I think he would see him as a more marketable and attractive option than Fundora. But who knows? Maybe we might get Fundora and Tim in early 2025 and the winner fights Bud mid next year, because that would probably stay in line with Bud fighting once a year. When do you fight? In July at some stage. So if it's June or July maybe next year, that would give Tim the chance to win the belt, then fight Fundora, and then fight Bud after that. So, but who knows? Anything's possible at this stage, mate. Saudi Arabia December card reported daily. CBS, Zerdo, no Jai. I did see that, Sam. That's the December Saudi card that Ramirez and Bill and Smith will be fighting in December. So, well, Jai, what is he fighting? When is it? October. So it's probably a little bit early, Sam. I would think that they'd be looking at Jai knocking over Massey in October. The winner of CBS and Zerdo then fighting Jai on a Saudi Arabia card next year, or a Riyadh card somewhere, whether it's England, America, or Saudi. I'm not sure, but I think that would be the end game. You would think that the powers that be with the Riyadh season would want all these big fights happening. You know, they've got to fill these cards. Our expectations are very, very high at the moment, so they've got to keep measuring up. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, Sam, where it's CBS and Zerdo in December, and then the winner of that will fight Jai maybe mid next year on another Saudi card, or at least a Riyadh season card. Big J, Liam and Haney is planned for Townsville. Paro's hometown is Mackay, not Townsville. Paro appeared at the Cowboys versus Storm game on Thursday to promote the fight at the footy stadium in Townsville. Now, how far away is Townsville from Mackay? Not that it matters, Big J. I'm sure they'll all be there, but obviously Townsville has the population and, more importantly, probably the stadium to host that fight. I'm not quite sure what it's like in Mackay, what sort of stadiums they've got there, but that's probably why, I would think. And there's obviously a lot bigger population in Townsville, I'm imagining, as well. So, but geez, it'd be great for that part of the world, wouldn't it? Bill Hack, what do you got there, mate? Tommy Brown calls Michael a quitter on live TV, then quits in round one. Crikey, anyone would have done and said what Michael did. Sick of the hate on Zerafa. What's he done? So bad. Yep, brother, was wrong. He was. Yeah. Look, but I understand what you're saying there, Bill. But the thing is, if you're going to try and be the villain, and I think Michael sort of almost accepted the fact that he is the villain now, and if he hasn't, well, it's too late. He's going to be the villain no matter what he does. But when it comes to the hate, mate, I think you got to remember that here in Australia, we like our sports people to be humble. Michael, he just, I don't know, it's like a round peg to a square hole. He just rubs up people the wrong way. And I don't think I've ever seen this ever in my 40 years or whatever it is of being involved in boxing or following boxing. I've ever seen an Australian boxer that has had this effect. And I do agree it is unfair on Michael to some extent, but it's not going to help his cause by what happened the other day. And not just the fight, but also the press conference and the weigh-in. Although the weigh-in was actually okay. And the thing is too, the Zoos are almost like a royal family in Australia. And I don't think I know it's good to get the fight possibly with Nikita or Tim, but it's not going to do much for your brand, Bill, when you're insulting the royalty of Australian boxing in the zoo. So that's just the society we live in, Bill. He rubs people up the wrong way, and it is what it is. But you never know. He might get that $2-3 million payday against Nikita or Tim, and it'll all be worth it. I'm sure in 20 years' time, Bill, when his career's over, maybe people will look back with him a little bit more favourable. But at the moment, unfortunately, that's his lot. Big J, ever been to Mount Rushmore? No, I haven't, Big J. Where is it? Mount Rushmore. I wouldn't mind actually getting that. That's actually somewhere I might like to go one day, Mount Rushmore. They might put our man Donald Trump up there, Big J. Might put him up there at some stage. I can just feel the comments coming at me now. Actually, who's on your Mount Rushmore of Australian boxing? Okay, so we've got 4. Fennick, Rose, Chock, and Gear. Wow. Oh. So the 4 that have, I'm assuming the criteria there, Big J, is the 4 that have contributed the most to Australian boxing. I think it would definitely be Jeff Fennick, be Lionel Rose. I think you would have to put up there, geez, would it be Johnny Famechon? I think would have to be up there. And possibly Chock, yeah. I'm not sure Daniel Gill gets up there on mine, Big J. But there's I mean, Les Darcy for the romance of the whole thing. But I don't comment much on Les Darcy because, I mean, we just know so little about him. And I know it's almost like the legend has grown over the years and his accomplishments. And I'm not saying anything untoward about Les Darcy. I mean, obviously he was a legend, but we can only go with what we know. And I would think possibly, yeah, Fennick, Rose, Famechon, and, yeah, possibly Chock. Yeah. I'm sure everyone's got their own opinions. Let us know. Put it up on the chat and we'll see what you think. There's Andy in the chat. How you going there, mate? Thank you. Yep. Like, subscribe, share. If you can, much appreciated. And I have really appreciated too, guys, the amount of views we're getting on the walking boxing. It's not a lot, but we have, we get sort of 300 or 400 views a day. The Nikita Zoo one the day after, I think we had nearly 900 views there. So it's much appreciated, and it's obviously getting out there. And anything you want me to talk about when I get back, happy to have a chat about it on walking boxing. I'll have plenty to talk about when I get back. Don't get me wrong. There'll be probably a week's worth when I get back. But if you've got anything, then just message us on YouTube or Instagram. Double G, do you think some lesser boxers are getting high on the turkey dollars and pricing themselves beyond the crowd revenue pulling potential? Then, because of things fall over, it looks like they are ducking. Yeah, that's a good point, Double G. The bar for purses and everything now has been dramatically raised by the turkey dollars. And unfortunately, it's good for the boxers, of course. It's fantastic that they're all getting well paid, and that's awesome. The problem is that it's very, very hard for other promoters to now measure up to that. And the expectation is that even if the fighters are fought on turkey cards, when they leave the turkey cards or maybe fight on another promoter's cards, they expect that type of money, which is sometimes not possible. And what happens if one day the government or the royal family or whoever it is whose money this is, because you've got to remember, it's not Turki Al Sheikh's. He's spending other people's money, which is why it's great just to throw it around and pay them overs. What happens one day when they shut it down? They say, yeah, you've had your fun. We're putting an end to it. Then what? So it's a little bit of a dangerous game we're all playing at the moment, Double G. I think it's great at the moment, and we've got to make the most of it while it's there. But there are some downsides to what's happening at the moment. More so good at the moment. But what happens if it all falls over tomorrow? Where does that leave the promoters, the fighters, and the sport? It's an interesting one. But I'm with you there, mate. Yeah, it does look like they are ducking. You got to remember, guys, I know we're all fans and we love it. And we want the best fight and the best, but it's a business. It's a business, and that's the way these fighters treat it at the top level. So this is going to happen. Don't think Norman is ducking Ennis. His team just appear to be pricing themselves out. I think was it over about 500 grand, Andy? I think Eddie Hearn said. We'll see, but will, in my opinion, look silly if it falls through and they end up on an undercard for 200K instead of 1.5. Yeah, mate, it's a good point. And what was the exact amount they were talking about, Andy? I thought it was along the lines of about, was it 1.5, whatever. Maybe he wanted 1.5 and Eddie was only willing to give him $1 million. That's still really, really good money for an unproven fighter. I know he's now got the WBO belt, but still relatively unproven. Now, why would, if it is the Ennis fight is after, geez, $1 million is still a lot of money. And you're 100% right. If nothing else happens and he has to fight on a card somewhere or an undercard of the Saudis or whatever it might be, then he might be 200 or 250. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it has happened before. You says Nikita is a good Aussie level brawler. Any step up internationally will end badly for him. Yeah, well, it's an interesting one, mate. Because I've got all the faith in Nikita and his ability. He's obviously got great pedigree, but I'm with you there. If he does allow himself to get drawn into these wars that he seems to lately and gets himself in a bit of trouble, then that is possible. I'm hoping that they will keep him at domestic level for as long as it takes against domestic level fighters to prepare him for the big step up. Now, it's interesting today because I must have come up on Facebook or something. And again, I don't get on Facebook much, but I did see a post somewhere today and it had the replay of Michael's fight with Tommy Brown. And I watched the fight back and I just thought to myself, right, I'm going to picture if Michael's in there with Nikita, how am I seeing this happening? And when I was watching it, I pictured Nikita being able to really catch Michael very, very well. I think Michael has his habit of raising his chin up in the air. He can, I won't say panic, but he can get a little bit flustered if someone's at him throwing bombs and he gets a little bit open. I can see Nikita beating Michael very, very comfortably. But, and I say a big but underlined, if Nikita falls into the trap that he had or he did against Kyle Mazudia, then the possibility is there for him to get caught by a punch from Michael. And if he does, Michael has the experience and power and patience, I suppose you might want to call it, to get Nikita out of there. And that's why I want to see him stay at domestic level for as long as possible. I'm in no rush at all, especially seeing the Cohen fight, of seeing him step up, because I'm with you at the moment, mate, that if he steps up to international level, and there's different levels of international, by the way. You could be fighting someone ranked number 50 in the world. They're still international, but they're probably worse than some of the domestic fighters. But I think at the moment, I don't want to see him fight anyone probably in the top 15. I want to see him maybe have another 4 or 5, maybe even 6 fights, and then step him up to that level. But he needs to work on those 1%ers of little bits and pieces, but more importantly, just his ability to stay in the moment, to stay focused, to be able to get back on track if he goes off track. And that's a challenge for him and his team. I'll be really interested to see what his team has to say about the whole thing. I actually exchanged messages with Glenn Jennings yesterday, and when I get back, I might try and get him on the show and maybe get a perspective of what they're seeing. Because if you remember, we had a talk with Glenn about Liam Wilson when we were in Vegas, and he said the frustration was there about Liam just not being able to stay in the fight plan, and or if he gets under duress or gets hurt or gets dragged into a brawl, not being able to pull himself back on track. Maybe Nikita's in the same boat. So it'll be interesting to see what Glenn has to say. But when I get back, we might see if we can get him on, and we'll do it live so we can get some comments. But I'll be interested to see whether they're as frustrated with the Nikita situation like they were with Liam. All right, Tommy, did you catch Diego Pacheco performance this past weekend? I did, Tommy. Do you think he's ready for maybe an Mbili, Skull, or Iglesias caliber opponent next? I definitely think Iglesias and Skull, Tommy. Mbili's probably a little bit different. That would be an entertaining fight. It would probably maybe be 50-50. I think he's more than ready for the other two there, but is he ready for Canelo? I don't think so. Not at this stage, mate. I think he's got maybe another couple of fights. Maybe it's Pacheco and then Billy could fight an eliminator. I'm not sure, but that would be a very, very good fight. Look, it was semi-impressive. I mean, Saliki was he's been around a long time. Was he from Poland? He's had a lot of fights, but probably journeyman status at the moment. So he did look okay, Pacheco, but I think he's got a way to go before he fights Canelo. But I think an Mbili fight would be awesome, Tommy. Glenn R says Diego is very good. I think he could handle those guys. Okay, so you agree? Yep. Norman outpriced himself, says King Sakuna. Cool name there, King Sakuna. Yeah, am I right there, King? It was, as far as I know, was it $1 million he was offered and he wanted 1.5. Big J says no hard feelings for Sky. She's a Queenslander, and I've got her back regardless. Well, that's good to see, Big J. But as I said, mate, it's a little to be barring people just for having a say. I don't know. Glenn says Norman is an idiot. He will never get offered that money again. Yeah, well, whoever said before, when he's back to fighting for 200K, maybe he might reconsider. And that's when Eddie Hearn will say, yeah, well, now I'll give you 500, not I'll give you 500. Nino and Rachel Donaire training Zerafa in this fight also. No, that's the interesting thing, Tommy. Now, Michael said in the lead-up that they were still his trainers, but they didn't come out for the fight. Now, Glenn Rushton was his trainer in the Tommy Brown fight. Now, the interesting thing, or the strange thing about the whole thing is that, one is that if Michael did reference that Nonito was still his trainer, well, if he's your trainer, why isn't he out here? You can't pick and choose what fights you're going to go to, Nonito. That's really hard for Michael to get some stability or continuation in his training. He has been known to obviously to change trainers a lot. So to all of a sudden have Nonito, he was there, then he's not there, and they bring Glenn Rushton in, and who, in Glenn Rushton's own words, said, well, I wasn't really brought on as a trainer. I was brought on as a spokesperson and an advisor. And all of a sudden, he's the main man in Michael Zerafa's corner. Now, granted, it was only for one round, but it can't be good for anyone concerned. But my point with it, Tommy, is that if Nonito Donaire is his trainer, well, he's his trainer, and he comes to Australia for the Tommy Brown fight or the Nikita Tszyu fight. It doesn't matter. He's his trainer. He should be here. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happening there, but he did reference that Nonito was his trainer going into the fight. And I think I said in one of my videos the other day as well, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a one-and-done exercise for Glenn Rushton. I don't think he would need the aggravation and the drama that it's involved in a Michael Zerafa fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is it for Glenn Rushton. Bill, if Cohen took a knee before taking too many shots, he had a chance to win. Yeah, it's a good point there, Bill. Maybe he was a little bit too game for his own good, because you're right, he could have taken a knee. You see during the fight as well that the referee said, Cohen, you got to show me something. You got to show me something, Cohen. And he gave him probably about another 5 seconds. He didn't respond, and he had no choice but to stop the fight. But if he was feeling under duress, you're right, Bill, he should have taken a knee, taken an 8 count, got up, and who knows, he might have been able to get Nikita out of there in the last round. Who knows? But I think these days fighters tend to be a little bit too proud, and they don't actually understand tactics as well. It's one thing for being brave, and we all welcome that with fighters like Cohen, but at the end of the day, you're right, it probably wasn't a smart thing to do to not take a knee. Because if he had taken the knee, yeah, okay, he would have lost the round, but he was going to lose it anyway. Take the knee, and you might give yourself a chance to stop Nikita in the final round. So, all right, Glenn, I love Chalk, but absolutely can't stand Zerafa. Overrated knob, nobody cares about. Yeah, that seems to be the consensus, Glenn. All right, I'll go through the comments there. Big J again. For the record, bugger Ebony, she's a dirty New South Welshman, so no love for her. I don't think you could even refer to her as a New South Welshman anymore, Big J. I think she's taken on the Union Jack these days, hasn't she? She's become probably a little bit like Sky as well when you think about it. They're based over there, and they seem to be more entrenched in the British way of life now than the Aussie way of life. I think over in the UK, and you probably can't blame the girls. They've gone over there. They've been embraced. They're almost worshipped over there. They're making massive dollars both in and outside the ring. And whereas over here in Australia, they've been making, chicken feed as far as purses goes. No, the Aussie, our sort of personalities or whatever it is you might want to call it over here, our culture would probably frown on the girls the way they're, Sky's not on OnlyFans, is she? But Ebony is. They'll probably frown upon that and not think highly of the girls. But over in the UK, they love it. So good luck to them. Make the most money you can while you're in boxing, and because you're a long time retired, aren't you? There's Peter Nutt with the black and white hearts there, the pies. Big game for the Blues this week, Peter. Big game. I think we're up against it, if I'm being honest. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, the Blues. We should have 5 or 6 back. And I've got to say, actually, on this too, shame on the airlines for what they're charging this weekend. I checked the airfares the other day beforehand to go to Brisbane. Not that I'll be able to get there anyway because I'll be overseas, but you're looking at about $500 or $600 return to Brisbane from Melbourne. Now the same fares you're looking at about $1,200 or $1,300 return. with the same fares after the game. It's ridiculous. I know it's the way the industry works. I get that, but still, come on. That's a shame. Shame on you, airlines. All right, Big Gallotta is a madman. Glad he wasn't too upset about the drink. Yeah, well, he did look, the way he looked at me, mate, he sort of glared down and I was looking up. And I probably had a few, so probably had little man syndrome at the time, thinking, I'll take you. But when I realised it was Andrew Gallotta, it was, can I buy you a drink? But he was okay. King Sakuna says Canelo Crawford is next. Well, I tend to agree with you there, King Sakuna. And again, I did a video about this the other day. I just call it a gut feel. I just think it all adds up that Crawford said it's Canelo or nothing. Canelo hasn't, it's not like he's got a plethora of fighters to choose from, and he might just be convinced. He has said, Canelo, in the last week or so, that he hasn't totally discounted it. So as soon as he said that, I thought something's happening here. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's May next year, King Sakuna, but we'll see. I for one, would like to see the fight. As ordinary as Crawford looked in his last fight, I think he could give Canelo trouble. I really do. Does he beat Canelo? Maybe not, but I think he gives him more of a fight than what a lot of people are thinking. King Sakuna says Crawford is not fighting at 54 again. Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me. Tommy, did you make the trip after Labor Day in America purposely? Good idea. So people should all be back to work and kids are back to school. So hopefully the crowds are light for you. Tommy, no, to answer your question, it was purely based on just getting over there for the Canelo fight. And I wanted to have my last few trips. I've gone over there for 2 weeks. I'll do a week of the touristy stuff. Again, I love the American history type of thing. So this time is the Philadelphia, Muhammad Ali's training camp, Shanksville for the 9/11 memorial, Washington for obvious reasons with the Capitol and the White House and Smithsonian and all that sort of stuff. So that's cool. And Gettysburg, of course. And then finish up in Vegas for the fight. But I didn't do it deliberately there, mate. I'm not sure what day is Labor Day anyway. I would have liked to actually been in the States for September 11. I'm actually flying that day from Washington to Las Vegas, so it'll be a little bit eerie. But I'll be where will I be? I'll be in Shanksville on the 7th, I think, so 4 days beforehand. But I'd love to be there when they do the commemorations, and I've sort of got on my sort of list at the moment. I'd love to be in New York in 2026 for the 25th anniversary of 9/11. I know a lot of people say, why would you want to go all that way just to be part of that? But I don't know, call it just a fascination with it. I'm sure we all remember it 23 years ago. I remember it just like it was yesterday, and I've just had this. I've been at the Ground Zero about 3 times, but I'd love to be there for that memoriam. So hopefully I'll get there in 2 years' time. All right, Crawford told Robert Garcia he's only fighting Canelo or he will retire. I did see that, mate, and I wouldn't be surprised. And you couldn't begrudge him. I did get the feeling in that Madrimov fight that Crawford had almost, I won't say checked out, but he wasn't up for the fight. He just wasn't there for the fight. You could just tell. It just wasn't the same Crawford. We saw it against Spence. He was switched on. He had a point to prove. It was a massive fight for him. It was sort of the Canelo fight of that time for him, and he got up for it, and what a performance he put on. I almost saw the Madrimov fight as just not being interested, not really being able to get up for it. Whereas I think, and maybe that was his feelings after the fight as well, thinking, I just haven't got it in here anymore. So I need the Canelo fight to get me up. So I'm with you there, mate. I would not be surprised if he doesn't hit the Canelo fight, that he does retire. However, as I said before, who knows? It could be a Fundora or Zoo might get his fires burning, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all with that him having said that, King Sakuna, that it's Canelo or nothing. Canelo just said the WBO order doesn't matter and they'll talk after the fight. Well, when you're at Canelo and Crawford's level, belts really don't matter, do they? They really don't matter. I understand belts do get some fights made, and we need excuse me. We need belts. I know we've even discussed on here in the past about, do we really need belts? The best will fight the best for the best money and all that sort of stuff. But belts do make the boxing world go around, and we're seeing it now with someone like a Tim Tszyu. Without a belt, he was pretty much out of the gang. He was out in the cold. But now he's got the shot at Murtazaliev, and if he wins that fight, he's all of a sudden going to be probably the second most or third most popular guy in that division of fighters wanting to fight. So they do have their relevancy. But when it comes to Canelo and Crawford, they don't need belts. They don't need belts. So, I do agree with what Canelo said there, King Sakuna. All right, Andy. Bud chasing 3 times undisputed is my first preference for Bud. Canelo, Benavides, all light heavyweight winner, my preference there. Canelo too big, too strong in my opinion. Would still watch and enjoy, to be honest. Look, as I said, Andy, I don't know. Again, from what I saw with the Madrimov fight, you'd have no arguments from anyone saying there's no way Crawford's going to hang with Canelo. Canelo, too big, too strong. He's going to cut him down. What you got to remember, though, are a couple of points. One is what I just said, is that Crawford, I got no doubt, would be up for the occasion. We'd probably see vintage Bud as far as his attitude goes and his approach to the fight. Of course, the weight is the biggest issue here. But if you look at both fighters, I'm pretty sure they'd be around the same height. So that's not an issue. I think Crawford would be faster with hands and feet. Canelo, he's got the power, he's got the strength. But Crawford can fight at a pretty good pace when he needs to. And Canelo has been shown to gas. It's a really tough one, but I just don't see it as being a blowout. I really don't. I think it's a very, very competitive fight, Canelo and Bud, and I would love to see it. Yes, we'd like to see Benavides, but I think we've got to face facts that fight's not happening anytime soon. So Peter says, Opataya smokes CBS or Zerto. 100% agree there, Peter. I think it would be easy work for Jai Opataya. Townsville is 432 Ks to the north of Mackay. Well, there you go. So what's that, about a 4.5 hour drive? Well, probably not up there. It's probably a 3.5 to 4 hour drive. I'm sure you can hit or put the foot down on the roads up there. But okay, so they would still get a lot of people from Mackay to Townsville, which is good. There's Batman. How are you there, mate? Welcome to the show. I don't think Robert Garcia was supposed to say Crawford told him he's only fighting Canelo, but he did. Okay, well, yeah, okay. So what you're saying there is he told him in confidence, and Robert Garcia has spilt the beans. But I think it has been said by Crawford to a couple of people there, King Sakun. I think even Turki Al Sheikh might have said the same thing, that Crawford had told him that he was only interested in fighting Canelo. So. Is Turkey going to give Opataya a high-profile fight? This is getting ridiculous. Well, I'm with you there, Damien. Breedis was a high-profile fight. He's the second best fighter in the division, so that was a good one. But outside that, this will be his third fight outside of Breedis. So 4 fights in total, 3 fights plus Breedis. So, yeah, I'm with you. Look, the Jack Massey fight, I know he's a tough guy. I know he went the distance with Joseph Parker, but realistically, I don't think has a chance in hell of beating Jai Opataya. So I'm with you there, mate. I wouldn't mind... Yeah, I wouldn't mind Turki Al Sheikh just maybe splurging a little bit more on an opponent for Jai. Now, maybe the other guys don't want to fight him. Jai wants to fight on this card, so this is the best they could do. I don't know, but is it just me, or is the quality of the Turki Al Sheikh's cards just waning a little bit? Because as I said, this card for me, apart from the main event, and seeing Jai doesn't really get me excited at all. So is he starting to fall into the usual thing with other promoters where they start out big and they spend a lot of dollars, where suddenly he has entered into regular promoter mode and just starting to pull back a little bit on what they're spending? I don't know. This fight for me, and I even thought the same to some extent for the Crawford and Madrimov card. I wasn't that excited about that one either. Some okay fights on it. If Virgil Ortiz had fought Tim Tszyu, it would have been a bit different. But yeah, I wasn't over excited about that card either. And I'm not that excited about this one. So I'm not sure what's happening even with Joshua and Dubois. Very lackluster. So are we starting to see the first signs of things being pulled back just a little bit? Who knows? All right, Andy. Definitely enjoyed the card. Got my money's worth, in my opinion. That was the No Limit show. Yep, so I'm a little bit behind by the looks of things here. Paul Michael Craig, how are you, mate? People forgetting that December is wet season in Townsville. Okay, I didn't know that, mate. It's always wet season down these parts in Victoria. Be very brave to host an outdoor title fight around that time, as much as I'd love to see Liam fight at home. Is there an indoor stadium there, Paul? Let me know. But that didn't even dawn on me about the wet season. But it does make sense up there, mate. You'd never do an outside fight here in Melbourne or at any stage because it's always fraught with danger. They did the Jeff Fennick Azuma Nelson fight here, in February 1992, when it should have been 35 degrees and sunny and hot and everything else, and it was freezing cold and a piss rain all day. So never trust Victorian weather. I remember as well, we did an amateur show here about 20 years ago here in Victoria. Again, in February, should have been 35 to 38 degrees. It was freezing cold and a piss rain, and the rain was going sideways. So that's how bad it was, and it should have been 38 degrees. So never trust Victorian weather. But it does make sense up there, Paul. Let's see what happens, and maybe they move the fight to another time or another stadium or another town, whatever it might be. Mount Rushmore is in North Dakota. Okay, I'm going to put that on the bucket list, Big J. Sorry, South Dakota. All right, come on, Big J, get it right there, mate. Big J, have you been on lately? I must admit I haven't really been on a lot on the YouTube. How's your show going, mate? Let us know and put your link in there or the name of your show. I think it's Australian Boxing Talk from memory. So follow Big J if you can as well. Just for a lighter side of what's going on in Australian boxing. You've sort of got me in the morning, sort of the conservative view, and then you've got the Big J version on the other channel where he doesn't hold back as much as I do and is not really is politically correct the right term? Probably not. But it's, we're getting at. I've got the nice leveled version, and Big J tells it the way it is in the more explicit version on the side. So check out Big J as well. Townsville is also extremely humid in December. Haney better do his homework if he fights there. Para would love it. Good point, you. And I would think that he probably wouldn't do his homework because when you think about it, he's thinking, oh, well, he's been to Melbourne before. And Townsville and Melbourne is probably, it's like going to Mars, isn't it, real? That's how different they are. So he might get over here and think he's just going to Melbourne. He might even think it's an indoor stadium. Who knows? And gets up there and it's, like I said, it's hot, it's humid, it's steamy. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Let's hope it happens anyway, you. Jack. Nikita also has to think about CTE. Must drive Igor and the team crazy seeing him take those shots. Well, that's what I want to talk to Glenn about, Jack. Is that the thinking that's coming out of the camp, or are they sort of thinking, well, no, he's doing everything he's designed or he's supposed to do, or the strategy is designed to do, but he's just been in these all-out wars with good fighters. The issue is that, again, I'm a massive fan of Kyle Mazzuti, but he's a domestic fighter. I can't see how they would see that as a good thing to be in that type of fight with a domestic level fighter like Cohen. As brave as he is and courageous as he is. So, yeah, again, I would want to see what Glenn has to say about that, Jake. Peter says Nikita and Wilson are twins and they have a bad habit of no retreat. Yeah, and look, the crowd love it, Peter. They think it's fantastic. Unfortunately, when you're 20 years down the track and you got the bit of drool coming out the side of the mouth when you're talking, it's not good. It's not good. And those fighters are very, very quickly forgotten. The fans love these guys when they're in the ring, a bit like footy players and that sort of stuff. They love them. But 20 years later, when they've got no money, and not to say these guys aren't going to have any money, but you know what I mean? They might be broke. They might be battling mentally. Where are those fans then? So I just want to see these guys get looked after as well as possible at the moment. And standing there and taking bombs with other fighters is not the way to go about it, if you ask me. So, Big J says, I lived there for 6 years while I was in the Army. Haney, this is about the far north. Haney best trained in Florida. The entire team, the entire time as good preparation. Yeah, good call there, Big J. Danny Garcia, if he beats Lara, he'll become a 3-time division champ who unified at 140. Would you put him in the Hall of Fame? I did see this question raised the other day, Tommy. If he beats Lara, even though it's a pretty, I can't say he's a weak champion, can I? A weak excuse for champion because he's been a great champion as well, Lara. And he did beat Michael Zerafa, of course. I'm saying that tongue in cheek. Yeah, I think so, Tommy. I think if he can be a 3-time world champion I think he would be in line for the Hall of Fame. I would think. It's a tough one. Line ball, but yes, I would probably put him in. Andy says, is Paro, Haney a definite, or are we just being hopeful out here? I think we're just being hopeful at the moment, Andy, although the best thing about it is that Eddie Hearn has actually said he's trying to make the fight for December. So he's been quoted as saying that. So that's probably the first thing. And of course, we all get excited and we all get it out there that's going to happen. We're all being hypothetical at the moment. But when you've got Eddie Hearn saying he wants to make the fight, then that is a great first step. So let's hope that does happen. Adam, how are you there, mate? Why don't No Limit put Michael Zerafa versus Mounir Fathi? Fathi would clean him up. Only at this stage, Adam, I would think it'd be purely Michael Zerafa saying Mounir Fathi is not on his level and hasn't earned a fight with him. I think it'd be a great fight, don't get me wrong. But I would think that Michael Zerafa, 32 years of age, he'd be looking at two fighters and two fighters only, and that is Enzu and Tizu. That is it. And because he would see those guys as getting back to the international level. Now, the problem with that is that I'm not sure there's a... First of all, I don't think Tim fights him under any circumstances. Even if he beat Nikita, I still don't think that fight would happen. I think Tim's got far bigger fights on his agenda at the moment. But I would say that Michael would want to see or get past Nikita, and then if it's not Tim, to maybe get him into that world scene again. But you got to remember, Nikita is sort of known at the moment of just Tim Tsz유's younger brother. Hasn't really got a presence overseas yet, so that's why he's got to build himself up. So while there'll be big news here in Australia if Michael beat Nikita, it wouldn't be big news overseas. And even if it was semi sort of big news, I mean, I don't sort of see it as getting him back there. PBC have already, put a line through him, have released him from his contract. So that would probably show that he's not really on the, on the A team over there in the international, I suppose you'd call it. So I would just think, first of all, I don't think he would see Fathi as being worthy of a fight with him. But again, as I said, I think he'd be just looking for one of those two fights to project him back. But I'm just not sure whether it's going to happen, Adam. Asbot says, if Haney and Paro fight and Haney loses to Paro, is it hard for Haney to come back at the top tier? Or 100%, Asbot. Pretty much, he's only young, isn't he? He's only, 24, 25. So he's got plenty of time to come back. But, geez, for a fighter of Haney's, what do you call it? The ego involved in his career. I mean, look how badly he took that Garcia loss and campaigned to get it overturned to a no contest, which he did. So good on him. But yeah, it'd be a long way back from Haney. I think if he lost to Paro, I'm not sure whether he would have the mental capacity to come back and be a top line fighter. Let's hope we get a chance to find out, Asbot. Paro's also coming out of the Dominican Republic fight and obviously looked good in the heat there. He did. That was inside though, but yeah. Was it Dominican Republic or was it Puerto Rico? I think it was Puerto Rico. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But either way, it was hot. There's a DJ. What do you got there, mate? A couple of ideas for your morning walks. Okay, let's go. 1, champion in recess. Your thoughts? I believe 12 months max. Okay. In recess, that is. Number 2, should fight negotiations remain behind closed doors? Whoa, that's some good questions you got there. Should fight negotiations remain behind closed doors? I think they probably should, shouldn't they? I know we'd love to see what's going on, but there's a lot of money and terms and conditions being spoken about. It's a good point there, DJ. Let's put them on the list, mate, and we'll talk about them one day on one of the walks for sure. Paro looked good, in the heat. Have you seen the Wildfighter have a show on Fox and KO? Yes, I did, Paul. Will actually called me, I think the day before it was announced there, Paul, just to let me know. Good friends with Will Tomlinson. And let's just say he was very excited about proceedings. Now, this is a guy that's been pushing for an opportunity for about 4 years, probably 5, it might even be longer, 4 or 5 years. He puts on really, really good shows, Will. He's worked really hard to get himself a brand, to get himself a stable of fighters. Has really tried to raise the bar on his production and all that sort of stuff. And I'm really glad that he's got an opportunity. This is obviously through No Limit. So I think what's happened here, Paul, is that, and I thought it might happen a little bit like what's happened with Ace Boxing with the Premier Boxing Series. It's a hell of a workload to be putting all these shows on one after the other, because you've got to remember, you're always planning a show, if not 2 shows ahead all the time, and that's very mentally draining, and a lot of draining also on resources and everything else. It's tough. So I don't blame No Limit for saying, shit, this is tough business. We're trying to get these big pay-per-views happening, which is a massive amount of work. They're trying to negotiate overseas for Tim and Liam and Sam Goodman and all these guys. Liam Wilson I was talking about there. So I totally understand this. They're now starting to say, you know what, we need to have second-tier promoters out there. Who are some of the guys around there doing good things? And they've seen Will, who had a really good show ready to go. It's not like he's putting on this show for No Limit. He had the show ready to go. No Limit have seen the card that he's got, seen that he's ready to go, and have said, Will, there you go. Here's your slot. Here's your opportunity. And I really hope that Will takes that opportunity and runs with it, because, as I said, he does put on some really, really good shows. There's going to be some really good fights on the card as well. And that is September, is it 19th or 21st? Hang on. It's a Thursday night is when it's happening. So it will be, when is it? September the 19th is the date. So, which is what, only about 2.5 weeks away. So make sure you check that one out. All right. Andy, Ryan blew weight and tested positive, so Haney kept belt, but that beatdown is cemented in everyone's head. Yeah, I agree, Andy. Devon stock's down at the moment, but will drop further again if Paro hands him an official L. 100%. Because, look, and it is probably unfairly as well, at the moment, Liam Paro is still, I don't think, probably held at the top tier. He should be, of course, because he beat the supposed boogeyman of the division, but I think a lot of people probably a little bit weary of the George Kambosos effect as well, where George beat Teofimo Lopez but didn't really do a lot after that. And I can't wait for his next announcement too, by the way. But I think they're a little bit skeptical at the moment of Liam. And I think if he can beat Devin Haney, well, I think his stocks will rise significantly. He'll be, I would think, probably on a par with Teofimo Lopez as the top dog in the division. But as for Devin, a long way back for him if he can't beat Liam Paro. All right, Peter disagrees with me. He says Canelo will embarrass Crawford. And there's not a hope in hell he beats Canelo. Yeah, well, I didn't say he'd beat Canelo, Peter, but I just think it'll be a lot better fight than a lot of people think. All right, I actually like Canelo and Janabek. If Janabek can't make 160 anymore, I like that too, DJ. I just have a feeling, though, that Janabek might just be a little too dangerous for Canelo at this stage of his career, mate. He's a beast, is Janabek. I'm still a little bit pissed at Janabek, though, that he didn't make weight against Andrei Mikhailovich. But I'm sure with another couple of wins, he'll be back in the good graces. And I don't mind the fight there, DJ, but I'm not sure whether Canelo might want that. But having said that, not a lot of options for Canelo around at the moment. So we'll see. That's a good option you put up there. I'm just surprised. Why would Zerafa, who fights at 160, want Nonito, a 118 guy who is still an active fighter and doesn't have training experience as a trainer? Well, I think sometimes, Tommy, it could be a little bit of maybe stature. Maybe Nonito brings a bit to the table as far as profile. I don't know. Look, I'm not that stressed about the fact that Nonito is only a 118-pound guy and Michael's 160. I mean, some of the really good trainers out there. Who's what's his name? The trainer who used to train Danny the Cuban. What's his name? The little fella. You know the one I'm talking about. Little Cuban guy used to train Danny Green. We met him in Vegas about 5 years ago. Who was it? What was his name? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. He actually has to have shoes on that are about 6 inches high that he uses to do pads with because he's so short. So I'm not so sure it's about the size of the guy. I think it's just the expertise. I'm more probably concerned with, like you said there, the fact that he hasn't had any experience as a trainer. And I think that was evident in the Lara fight. I didn't really see anything in that fight. Now, who's to say that maybe they had a great strategy and Michael just didn't have a chance to implement it? I don't know. But I didn't see anything in that fight from Michael that showed that Nonito had a bit of a touch or hand in what Michael Zerafa had in the training camp. So, but that's my main concern, Tom, is more so the fact that he hasn't had an experience as a trainer rather than the size of the guy. And he says, yeah, I fancy Canelo Janabek as well. Yep. All right, Labor Day is today in America. Okay. A lot take off Friday and enjoy 4 days off. Okay, well, when am I? Okay, well, where will I be Friday? That's the day I go to Muhammad Ali's training camp. So that's in Deer Lake. So the owner up there, if you don't know about it, it's his old training camp, and it's open certain days. It doesn't cost anything to get in, but you got to give. Well, they love a donation, so I'm going to make sure he gets a good donation, of course. But I'm sure if Friday is the day, then I'm sure there'll be a lot of people maybe take the day off and go up to Deer Lake, Tommy, and maybe there might be a few around that day. So, but I wasn't aware of the Labor Day holiday, mate. Thanks for pointing that out. Peter, Crawford beats Spence, who is absolutely cooked, and people can say what they like. A fit Zoo beats Crawford at 100%. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that, Peter. I think Tim could definitely do the job too. For me, Canelo would destroy Crawford, says Batman. But if it happens, then it happens. Not really the fight I want for either man. Yeah, I'm a little bit like you, Batman. I want to see it, but I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep. Look, for me, and I know I'm in the minority here, I'm not that stressed about Canelo and Benavidez either, to be fair. Now, you might say, well, who do you want to see him fight? Well, I'm not quite sure. I do like the Yanabek fight, though, and Billy would be entertaining as well. So I suppose time will tell. Andre Rodriguez, how you going there, mate? Welcome to the show. Good morning. Finally, I get the chance to watch the show live. Good stuff, mate. Great to have you on board. Have you got a question or a comment there? Put them in the chat there, mate. Great to have you along. All right, Bill. Zerafa beat Horn. Beat pound for pound great Pacquiao in 2 wars with him. Beat Chock, Hardman, and war with Brooks. Look at his record and tell 20 current Aussies they have achieved more. I don't want to fact check you there, Bill. I tend to disagree a little bit with what you're saying there. Yes, he beat Horn. And I'm a little bit loath to pick holes in some of his wins, but I know for a fact that Jeff Horn barely trained for that fight. I was the co-promoter for that event. He was eating pizza and drinking Coke and stuff a week before the fight, and I was at middleweight, hadn't trained a lot. Although, having said that, on the night, I thought Michael Zerafa was fantastic. He fought a great fight and really took Jeff Horn to school, I thought, that night. But when he came up against a focused and in shape Horn, 3 months later, apart from him hurting Horn in the 9th round, Billy pretty much lost every round. So I've got to say that one. And Chock, I don't think we can even include that at all, mate. I think Chock was well and truly done. Credit for him for the Hardman fight. No problems there at all, Bill. That was a very, very, very hyped up fight. Hardman was pretty reckless in that fight, but to Michael's credit, he timed him and hit him with that hook, I think, to put him down for starters and got him out of there. And then, Brooks and everything else. So, but you are right there, mate. Not a lot of Aussies have been in there with that type of opposition, regardless of what you think of those fights. But I'm with you there, mate. The problem I've got with him, though, Bill, apart from the Jeff Horn fight, he might have fought a lot of those guys, but he just hasn't been able to beat them. Brooks and Quillen and Lara, of course. I just think he's a really good... Well, I think he's a little bit good for domestic level, but not quite there at international level. Bill is sort of in that twilight zone in between. And again, I'm just saying it telling it as I see it. Not a personal attack on Michael. I just think a little bit too good for domestic level and not quite good enough for international level. That's just the way I see it. But I see your point there, mate, and you're fully entitled to your opinion, mate. Lots of work. I can only watch the show in the morning when I get this coffee break. Good stuff, Andre, mate. You can. It's good to have you along anytime, mate. Peter says nobody will fight a Pattaya. They're all scared. Yes, well, has that effect on people, doesn't he there, Peter? Have you seen how wide and thick Canelo is? His head is the size of a bowling ball. Crawford, the better boxer, and wins rounds, but Canelo hurts him when he lands. Look, especially from what we saw against Madrimov, Jack, I just think as the fight goes on, I think Crawford gives him issues early. I think as the fight goes on, and Canelo gets closer and closer and closer and starts landing those body shots, you can be sure that, like he has in the past, he'll be banging the biceps, he'll be banging the elbows, he'll be banging the shoulders, whatever he can get hold of to slow Crawford down. And you get the feeling that after 6, 7, 8 rounds, when Crawford can't really move as slickly as slickly, is that a word? As slick as he was in the early rounds, you think Canelo gets hold of him, but I just think it'll be a lot more competitive than what people are thinking at the moment. Andre says, Opati's road for unification is quite open. McCallion is all for it. Yeah, is that how you pronounce it? McCallion? Whatever it is. I'm hopeless with names. Well, it just depends, Andre, whether he has the patience to stay. I mean, if it's going to be a drawn-out process, the end result for Jai is going to be fighting at heavyweight. That's just a given. So it's a matter of whether he's got the patience to hang around, or if he gets to run around by Billum Smith or whoever it might be, he just says, screw this, you know what, I'm going to go to heavyweight. That's what I see happening. Any news on Paro's next fight? No, mate. At the moment, still a possibility of being Haney, but we don't know for sure yet, mate. So I'm sure an announcement will be coming soon because they want Liam to fight, in the next 3 months. So it might be another month away, I would think. What's that? Jackie said Canelo is wide and thick, but you know if he is uncut or cut. Look, so garden snake mentality, mate. I think regardless of whether he's wide or thick, whatever it is, Canelo will come in cut and ready to go, in shape. No doubt about it. He's never not done it, and I think you will see a vintage Canelo performance against Berlanga. Damien says, I definitely aren't. It's fun. Oh, this is the cards for Riyadh season, the Saudis. They definitely are. It's funny. They're just strong main events and weak undercards, just like everyone else. So I'm glad you say that, Damien, because that's the way I was sort of seeing it. And unlike a lot of people with that LA card, I couldn't believe they said, this could be the best card ever. I was like, maybe I'm missing something here. But even the main event, Crawford and Madrimov, I know Madrimov, a good fighter, but very unknown as far as, you know, the average fan goes. And Crawford's not the most marketable guy either. And I just thought the undercard was just solid without being really, extraordinary. So, and this one's the same. So, yeah, I'm with you there, mate. It's very, very similar to everyone else's cards at the moment. Danny is not Hall of Fame in my book, says Andre. Yep. As I said, Andre, I think he's 50-50. So, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be just as many say he shouldn't be in than say he should. So, Tommy, if Usyk beats Fury in the rematch, would you say he's the best fighter of the past 10 years, even over Canelo? Ooh, good call there, Tommy. No, I don't. I still don't think you can go past Mayweather and Pacquiao. I don't know. I mean, the best heavyweight of probably the last... Well, I would put... If I can spit it out, I would probably put him past the Klitschko's, I would think. So what's that? Probably the best since Lennox Lewis. So what's that? 20... When was Lennox Lewis around last? Early 2000s. So probably the best heavyweight of the last 20 years, I would think, is Usyk. But I still think I think even Canelo would be above him, Tommy. Just the resume of the opponents that Canelo has fought. I know Usyk's beat Fury twice and Dubois has beat Dubois once, Joshua twice. I get that. I just think Canelo, Mayweather, Pacquiao have just had just a lot better resume. And I know with the Fury side of things, I don't know about you, but I look at Fury just a little bit different now. I always thought those Deontay Wilder fights were just, wow, what a performance from Fury. But seeing how bad Deontay Wilder has looked since, do we overestimate the value of those wins from Tyson Fury? For me, and I hate to say it, it's just maybe pull Fury back a little bit. So beating Fury to me is not a bigger deal as it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And Joshua, yeah, I think he's been still relatively well matched as well. But I don't know. It's a tough one, Tommy. But to answer your question, no, I don't think he's in the last 10 years better than Canelo or Mayweather or Pacquiao. And there's probably arguably some other guys. Terence Crawford's probably another one. No, Inoue is fast approaching. I think Usyk's probably got Inoue covered at the moment. But Terence Crawford, very, very good resume as well over the last 10 years. Peter says, if Nikita lost to Zerafa, that would harm him going forward with overseas fighters. I would think, Peter, if I'm being honest, I think, call it a gut feel. I don't know. It's never been said to me, but I think if Nikita lost to Zerafa, you would probably, for me, I think it would be almost over for Nikita. I don't think boxing means enough to him to try and just start again and regroup and go again. Again, it's just a gut feel. I've never seen Nikita with the same drive and passion for boxing that Tim has. I think it was just, for me, I see Nikita as a type of kid or man who's looked at boxing. I'm going to take this as far as I can, as long as I can, and give it my absolute all. But if it doesn't quite work out, you know what? I'll step away and I won't lose 1 second sleep. Is that type of guy. So I don't think it's life and death for Nikita. And I've just got a feeling if he couldn't beat Zerafa, he would probably say, you know what, if I can't beat Michael Zerafa, the odds are I'm not going to be a world champion. So do I really want to give up another 3 years or whatever it is, or two or 3 years to try and get back to the point of being able to go to that next level again? So it's an interesting one. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just looking from afar. That's all. Bill, Zerafa beat Horn. Did I have already said that one? I think I've already put that one in there. Another one for your walk, Lynden. Boxes as stocks, buy or sell. I like that, Peter. I like that one too. I better write all these down. I like that one. Buy or sell or hold. Is hold in there as well, Peter? But we'll just say stocks, buy or sell. Well, hey, we might get 10 or 20 fighters and we'll go through them all. Another one I did see the other day that I am going to do as well, and I saw it on a social media page somewhere, and they had about 20 different fights of the most watchable or rewatchable fights of all time. I want to do that as well. The fights that if you had to have maybe 10 fights to sit down and watch, if the gun held to your head, not that it would take me that to have me sit down and watch 10 fights I love, but if you had to choose 10 rewatchable fights, what would you go to? And I think the obvious one off the top is, say, a Hagler-Hearns or Gaddy and Ward or one of those fights. But, yeah, that's probably one I'll look into as well. The other one I'm going to do is the fictional 5x5s, Golden Boy versus Top Rank, or Top Rank versus Matchroom, or whatever it might be. So anyway, things like that. Have you seen that new Klitschko documentary? Amazing. No, I haven't, Damien. No, I haven't, mate. I'll check it out, mate. I might download it before I go on the plane tomorrow. Let me know what network it's on. Is it on Netflix or something? There it is, Andre Ismail Salas. Thank you, Andre. One of the best in the business. He's about this big. There's not much of him, but a fantastic guy. Tommy says, would you like to see Janabek versus Adames winner face Danny Garcia Lara winner for Undisputed? Yes, 100% I would, Tommy. Now, these guys aren't with I was going to say they're not with the Saudis, because this is a PBC event. I'm pretty sure Janabek is with Top Rank. I would love to see that. So I don't really care what the winners or who they would be. I sort of like, if I had to pick the winners of those two fights, I would probably say Janabek and Lara would be the two that would come out to fight for Undisputed. And I think that would be a great fight. What's that? Don't wear white in the States after Labor Day. Buggered if I know why, just don't do it. Okay. After Labor Day or on Labor Day? Don't wear white. I don't wear white anyway, Big J. As you can tell, it's always black. Well, I might wear a white T-shirt every now and then, but no, I stick with the black there, mate. Just like the Mayweather effect changed boxing, are we needing to get past the Canelo era? Yeah, good point, Asbot. Maybe we are. Maybe we need Canelo to get it out of his system, to move on, and then maybe boxing can reset, and away we go. But there's always someone else coming. Mayweather stepped aside, and Canelo jumped into his spot as the face of boxing, didn't he? So maybe when Canelo goes, who is it? Is it Crawford? Not Crawford. Is it? It's not going to be Crawford. Is it going to be maybe Inoue? I don't think Inoue is the type of guy that would stall fights and pick and choose and everything else. But it's a good point, Asbot. Maybe we need Canelo to retire just to pretty much unlock the belts, unlock the divisions, because it's not just super middleweight we're talking about here. So 168, it's possibly 175 and possibly 160. Does he go up? Does he have fighters come up to fight him? I think 3 divisions would be unlocked, and we might get some of those big fights we've been craving. We might see Benavides versus the winner of Bivol Beterbiev, and then we have Morel thrown in there. We might have Janabek move up. Who knows? But it's a really good point there, mate. Tommy B, how you going there? Tommy, not sure if it's been mentioned yet, but Camille Bella fighting tomorrow on the undercard of Inoue Doheny. Potentially we could have another set of brothers, both world ranked. I didn't mention that, Tommy, and I must admit I meant to mention it this morning on Walking Box, and I forgot all about it. So if you don't know, Camille Bella is fighting, is it Sasaki, I think his name is, for a couple of regional belts over 12 rounds. I don't know how Camille got the fight. Obviously, he knows someone in there. I'm pretty sure it might be our old mate Pierre Karam has someone in the know, I think, has got Camille that fight. But because up until a couple of years ago, I think he might have had 3 or 4 years out of the ring and has come back and had 2 semi-tune-up fights. Now he's got himself a big fight in Japan. So, look, all the best to Camille. Let's see if he can get the job done. And you're right, we could have himself and his brother Ibrahim Bella world rank. So some exciting time for both boys. What's up? Damien, that was a joke. Best card ever in America. Ha ha ha. Was a good card. That's it. That was the LA card. Yeah, Damien, I thought I was in the minority here. I just thought, well, I looked at it and went, oh, okay, yeah, it's good. But I wasn't even that excited about the main event, let alone the undercard. Now, don't get me wrong. I would much rather have those types of cards and have nothing at all. So before anyone says, oh, well, what do you expect? You know, you want Golden Boy to go back to what they were doing. But look, I think Top Rank, Golden Boy, Eddie Hearn, they've all had really good shows, always had really good main events. I must admit, I'm probably from the era, I suppose you want to call it, that I'm a bit over having the stacked cards. I don't need it. I'm very easy to please. I want the main event, of course, and then just a couple of half-decent fights on the undercard, and I'm happy. So even this Canelo card, Belunga, that's what I'm there for. Yeah, it'd be okay to see Caleb Plant on the undercard, I suppose. The Garcia and Lara will be good to see, I suppose, but for me, it's about the main event. So I know a lot of the new age fight fans love the UFC concept with having a stacked card from top to bottom, but not for me. Give me the main event, 1 or 2 half decent fights, and I'm okay with that. So, what's everyone's thoughts on Teo training with Canelo and Rene? So should add well to Teo's toolbox. I liked it, Andy. I did see the footage of that. If you don't know, Teofimo Lopez, because he's the Puerto Rican style, I suppose you could call it, has been doing some work with Canelo, and they looked pretty good in there together, didn't they, Andy? Teofimo Lopez and Canelo Alvarez swapping punches. I mean, they were going very, very light, of course. Slipping and rolling and weaving and everything else. But, yeah, I liked it. I didn't mind it at all, Andy. I thought good move from Canelo. Andre, do you think Opetaia wants to pull the new stick by trying to become the undisputed heavyweight? Backtrack. Becoming undisputed at cruiserweight and then move to heavyweight. I think in an ideal world, Andre, I think that's exactly what he would want to do. But I just get the feeling that he's not going to wait around forever. I think if he can't get all belts unified within the space of maybe 12 to 18 months, I think he'll say, no, I'm done. I'm going to move up to heavyweight. Screw the belts. I'm going for the coin. Because whatever he's getting at cruiserweight, you can probably times that by 3 or 4 if he goes to heavyweight. Brett Roberts says Nikita needs to improve his defense and fight smarter as the levels of fights go up. Dad could help him be a smarter boxer. He needs to spend time with Dad and before even as a Zerafa fight. I'm with you there, Brett. I'd love to see that. And the difference, what you see with Kostya to Tim and now to Nikita, they have got very similar styles. They all sort of fight similar. The difference that I've seen so far, and I'm sure it can be corrected, Nikita just needs to focus a bit. But you look at Kostya and Tim, they have this ability to, no matter what, stay focused the whole. They're almost like the Terminator. No matter what happens, they maintain the composure, maintain focus. They don't allow themselves to be drawn into fights or wars if they don't want to be drawn in, and they just keep sticking to the plan round after round after round, and they break you down. Exchange by exchange, minute by minute, round by round, and they break you down and they get you out of there. The problem with Nikita at the moment is he does that for a portion of the fight, and then as soon as he might get hurt, he might get hit, he might get a little bit fatigued, and then he just goes into this different zone. And the issue he has at the moment is he can't pull himself out of it. He can't pull himself out of the fog. It's almost like, I'm not religious or anything, but it's almost sort of seems like he's drawn to the light. And he's drawn to the light, and he just gets fixated on the light. And when I say the light, I'm meaning just brawling with his opponent. He gets drawn in, and he just can't pull himself out and get away from the light. And the unfortunate thing is, if he doesn't do that, the only lights he's going to be seeing are the ceiling lights as he's on the canvas looking up. And I never want to see that. I want to see Nikita improve and win world titles and all that sort of stuff. And I 100% agree with you, Brett. And maybe it's a case of bringing in Kostya. Now, I know Uncle Igor is great. I know he's got a great background and done some great things with Tim. But Nikita isn't Tim, and maybe he just needs a little bit more work, a little bit more expertise, a little bit more experience from someone like his dad to come in, and who knows, they might hook up in Thailand or somewhere. I know Tim met up with Costa over there. I think it was in the middle of where they're coming from. So maybe Nikita could do the same. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Igor, great trainers doing great things. But maybe Nikita, just at the moment, needs someone like Dad just to put a different perspective on it and offer a few things that maybe isn't getting through to Nikita at the moment. But and if you've got someone like Costa Zoo as your dad, why wouldn't you use those resources? Andre says, I'd love to see Opataya do that. That is win the undisputed cruiserweight and then move up to heavyweight. Also thought the Klitschko's were the best of the bad bunch. Don't think they would have dominated in any other area. Well, both of them lost very, very winnable fights against some average opposition, didn't they? So I'm with you there, Big J. I thought they were good fighters, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they would have hung with the division, the talent before them and after them. I think, they sort of merged a little bit, didn't they, into the Fury and Joshua era. Of course, they fought those guys, or which one's Vitali? Or was it Vlad? Whatever it was. Before that, I don't think they would have hung with the... Actually, which one of them fought Lennox Lewis as well? But, the Tysons and Bowes and Holyfields, I just don't think they would have hung with those types of guys. So, Jack says, Nikita isn't ready for Zerafa. I want to see him fight Benjamin Hussein. Well, that's a good fight. Is it? If you're talking about Nikita, Jack, I think Ben Hussein would be a really good fight. I think Ben Mahoney would be a good fight. I don't think the Wade Ryans and Joel Camilleri's probably make a lot of sense at the moment. Well, the Joel Camilleri fight's never going to happen, of course, because he's part of Team Zoo. I think he could beat Wade Ryan, but is it an unnecessary risk? It's just a hard, spoiling type of fight. If anything, Nikita doesn't need that type of fight with a Wade Ryan, but I think Ben Hussein, Ben Mahoney would be great fights for Nikita for sure. Would watch, but I don't see Janabek making 160 no more. Would watch, though, if it happened for sure. That's fighting the little mini tournament. Move up to 168, Andy. It's there for the taking, and who knows, he might get the Canelo fight. You just never know. All right, so the name of the documentary is Klitschko, More Than a Fight. So I'll check that out. All right, what's up there? If they were both in their late 20s and 30s now, they would, again, both be champions. Okay, that's the Klitschko's. You're only as good as your own era, and Klitschko's were of theirs, in my opinion. Yeah, well, that's a good point, Andy. You can only be as good as the opponents that are in your era. Vitali was better of the two, but let his little bro have the glory. Vlad was on my heavyweight GOAT list, to be honest, but maybe got bumped off by Usyk. Yeah, good call there, mate. All things considered and accomplishments based. Team Batman says definitely needs to improve his defense. This is Nikita. Here's the comment of the night. Learning to clinch would help Nikita. There you go, Asbot. This is exactly what I said in my video the other day. Something as simple as when you're under duress, clinch. Now, that might be the first step. Okay, and there's a lot of different things he has to work on. Maybe the first step above all else is saying, Nikita, when you are hurt, when you are fatigued, when you're under pressure, clinch. This is how we clinch, and this is what we have to do. And the next step after that might be to maybe take 2 steps back out of punching range and take a deep breath, try and get your composure back, and then go back into fighting. But Nikita, if you notice, does not take... When this situation happens, does not take a backward step. He will stand there and he will trade. And it might be something as simple as clinching, or as I said, taking 2 steps back and just giving yourself 5 or 10 seconds to regroup and refocus and then go again. But that would be, a pretty obvious thing to do there, Asbot, but that might be the first step. Batman says, I still think he beats Zerafa though. Yep, I do too there, Batman. I saw that ceiling light ending coming as soon as you said draw to light. Yeah, the ring lights there, Andy. Nikita reminds me of Ty Telford. He had some epic wars against Brewbreaker and Foley, but a war veteran like that has a very short career. Telford hasn't fought in 2 years, and he took a lot of punishment, Big J. A lot of punishment, and that's a shame because he had some ability, Telford, and also that real crowd pleasing style. But the thing is, very quickly forgotten by the fans. So it's great to be a crowd pleaser, but like you said, he hasn't fought for 2 years, and probably most people haven't even noticed, and that's what I don't want to see for Telford or Nikita or anyone. So look, I'm sure that they're conscious of it, Big J, but he needs to work. Well, let's face it, he needs to work on his defence and his composure and focus and a few other bits and pieces, but it's not insurmountable. If he can fight 10 rounds like he did the other night for the first 5 rounds, this guy could be anything. He was super slick, super precise. He can punch, very, very awkward with that southpaw style. But unless he can correct that part of his game, there's got to be an asterisk beside him, whether he can take that next step internationally. Let's hope that he can do it and he can get right up there in the world scene. Shout out to those here that told me to go look at Alex Winwood. I've been keeping an eye on Abdullah Mason as well. He is a great young talent, Abdullah Mason. And look out for Alex Winwood there, DJ. This weekend he gets a crack at that. What belt is it? WBA, I think it is. So, can't wait for that. Ty Telford retired eye injury. Thanks, Jack. I didn't know that. Just going back onto that comment too about Alex Winwood. Good female fight on the undercard of that as well. Viviana Ruiz and Luisha is a Bang Bang Taunton. That will be Taunton, whatever it is. Bang Bang. Should be a really, really good fight. So check that one out. It's on the Premier Boxing Series on Saturday night. So it's free to get the app. Make sure you watch that card. Support Australian boxing. And I'll be looking or watching from overseas. Although, having said that, it's in Perth, isn't it? I think it is. So in Perth at the moment, it is 6:40 at night. So if it was on in about another 2 hours, that would mean it would be about 8:30 in the morning over there. So I'll be watching that live, 100%. Andy says, I hope I haven't missed any comments there. Since Bivol rematch, Canelo's last best legacy. What's that there? So Canelo's last best legacy move is to defend that super middleweight and challenge light heavyweight undisputed winner before retiring. It's possible the super middleweight belts will be up for grabs. Yeah, I just don't think, Andy, Canelo wants to fight the winner. He might say he wants the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev, but if he fights the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev, I think we've all got to lay off him as far as this whole ducking Benavides fight goes. Because I would think, well, we all saw Bivol's already beaten him, but if you say Beterbiev wins and Canelo opts to fight Beterbiev instead of Benavides, surely he's got to get his props. Because I think Beterbiev is a far more dangerous guy than what David Benavides is. And even Bivol, who he's already lost to before. So I don't think Canelo wants the fight, but I think he's more than happy to discuss it, Andy. But as I said, as far as really wanting that fight, I just don't see the sense in it for Canelo. I understand the Bivol rematch. There's a carrot there because Bivol beat him, but I don't think he beats Bivol. If they fought 10 times, I don't think he beats Bivol once out of 10. It's just styles. Bivol's just got that style. He's got that high work rate, very awkward. He fought the perfect fight against Canelo last time. Canelo loves to do his punching and then rest. Normally his opponents let him rest. Bivol didn't let him rest. And now, even at this stage of the careers, I don't see how Canelo can alter his strategy. And Bivol's just got to repeat that fight after fight after fight. And I think he beats him 10 times out of 10. But if Beterbiev does beat Bivol, again, I think that Canelo would be a much dangerous fight fighting Beterbiev than Benavides. There's a lot of B's in there, isn't there? So the only good thing about though, Andy, with those super middleweight belts would be vacant. And then we've got, like we said before, a whole reset of the division and we go again. Damien, I never knew it was meant to be Vitaly going for the gold medal, but tested positive and Vlad took his spot. I didn't know that either, Damien. I'm going to have to look that up tonight for sure, 100%. Is Isaac Hardman coming back? Well, I hope so, Asbot. I'm a little bit perturbed by the fact he's left No Limit. Now, I get that maybe they couldn't get him the fight he was after, but who else can? A little bit like the Akuso situation. It's one thing to say, well, No Limit hasn't been able to maybe get me the fights I really want, but what other promoter can get him the fights that he wants? No Limit have got the money and they've got the platform and the backing and everything else. So I just don't know the sense. I'm sure there's logic behind it, but so far we've heard crickets as far as Isaac Hardman goes. He's ready and willing to fight, but so far nothing. So don't know. Maybe it could have been Isaac Hardman in the hunt for the Zerafa rematch. Maybe, look, if you look at it, could have been No Limit saying, all right, let's milk this a little bit further. And I said it in one of the walking videos the other day, let's milk this for a little bit longer, the Nikita and Zerafa situation. Let's get Nikita to fight a Ben Hussein or a Ben Mahoney or a Brock Jarvis maybe, and or maybe it could have been Zerafa, Hardman, and Brock Jarvis on one side and Hussein, Mahoney and Zoo on the other side. They all sort of fight a little mini tournament, and then the end result is the two winners fight then. I don't know, but I don't know why Isaac wouldn't have been wanted to be part of that because so far I've heard nothing. Asbot, and it's a shame because he's one of my favourite fighters. I wish the best for him. But let's see. Even Isaac and Brock Jarvis would have been a great fight on No Limit. But yeah, I'm not sure where he's at the moment, Peter. Somebody's probably said the Kambosos is fighting in Saudi in November. Well, I don't know, Peter. Well, it was going to be Williams Zapata in November, but now he's going to fight Tevin Farmer. But there's no reason why George Kambosos could not fight someone else on that Saudi card in November, which does make a lot of sense. So maybe it's a little bit of everything. Maybe initially it was Zapata fighting Kambosos in November on the Saudi card, but maybe it was just a few wires crossed and maybe they're both fighting on the card against separate opponents. So Zapata has Farmer and Kambosos has somebody else. I don't think Teofimo Lopez actually, if I'm being honest, does look really fight hardened at the moment, ready to go, but it is, 2 months away, so I'm sure he'd be able to get down if that was the case, or it could be somebody else. I think the one thing you can be assured of is that whoever George Kambosos fights will be a legit fighter. So that's the way he rolls, isn't it? Is that Justin? Poor Neil, no more morning walks. No, he's going to have to make do for a couple of weeks, Justin. Look, I've got a couple of sons. If they can get their lazy asses out of bed, we'll be able to take him for a walk. My wife, Tara, will probably take him every morning for school drop-off. He loves going in the car, so that might have to suffice. But as I said, if I can get one of my sons out of bed to take him for a walk, we'll see how we go. But he loves his walks, that's for sure. He sort of takes me for the walk, not the other way around. I just follow him around for an hour and a half. All right, Winwood is competing for the WBA minimum weight world title. Okay, minimum weight. Okay, I had in my head it was super flyweight, but you're right, that doesn't make sense. But minimum weight. He's only a little fella, but geez, he puts them together pretty well, Big J. He's a good little fighter, and I'm sure he'll bring that title home, but it won't be easy. And it's got to say it's great that Danny Green's got behind him. I know he's a fellow Western Australian, and that's awesome, but it sort of brought a little bit more attention to the event, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be a great night over there in Perth. And all the best to Dragonfire, Angelo Hyder, Tony Tolge, and Big Rig, and all the rest of them over there who'll put in the show on. I'm sure it'll be a great night. All right, Damien, another awesome show. Good luck with that fight. Oh, thanks, mate. The fight tomorrow. Hope you have an awesome... Oh, it's that time already, is it? We've got about 10 minutes to go. Can't wait for the update videos. Please tell me you're flying premium economy. Ha ha. Yes, Damien, I've sort of let's just say I've treated myself this time on this trip. I had a fair few frequent flyer points saved up, and I did splurge a little bit, if I'm being honest. So there's no way, there's no way I'll be actually paying for these trips, by the way, because they cost a lot of money, but I'm very fortunate the business that I'm in. I spend everything I buy, I use the old Amex card, and I accumulate the points, and that's what I use. And yeah, I had a fair few accumulated there, Damien. So as I said, let's just say I'm going to be in some comfort flying over. But you'll see when you'll see the videos anyway. All right, Andy did want Canelo versus Benavidez at super middleweight, but let's be honest, Canelo has achieved way more than Benavidez has thus far. Bivol and Beterbiev both would beat Canelo and Bivol, in my opinion, if no hydration clause. Yeah, well, I'm with you there, Andy. I don't really like when people say that Canelo's legacy is going to be affected just because he doesn't fight David Benavidez. I mean, come on, this is a guy that's fought, Mayweather and Cotto and everyone there is to fight at 154, 160, and 168, even all the way up to 175. So. And who really Benavidez? What Andrade, Caleb Plant, David Lemieux. I mean, yeah, I don't think his legacy would be affected at all. I think there'll be a few people say he didn't fight Benavides back in the day, but it's no different to say, I don't know, Floyd Mayweather with, say, an Antonio Margarito. Never fought Margarito, but has it really affected his legacy? No. Floyd Mayweather is an all-time great and always will be. What is this Saudi November card? Yeah, they're talking about one November 16th, Damien, and that's where William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer will fight. And they're talking about, as I said, George Kambosos as well. So November 16th, I think it was, is the date they're talking about. Lara fight, we know when you get caught cold, it's near impossible to come back from. Shaking legs, facing a fresh Lara, scary. Inactivity has hurt Zerafa. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that, Bill. Look, I think if you asked Michael, he would probably agree with that fight with Lara. He just started way too slowly. He gave Lara way too much respect. Now, I know Erizlandi Lara has earned respect, but sometimes you've got to go out there and let these guys know you mean business and really let them know you're there early. We saw it with Liam Paro over Matias. We saw it with George Kambosos over Teofimo Lopez. We've seen it with Jeff Horn when he fought Manny Pacquiao, and the list goes on and on and on. Jai Pataya, Marius Breedis. You have to start fast and get their respect and let them, because let's face it, Lara didn't respect Michael Zerafa at all. Like Lopez didn't respect Kambosos, Matias didn't respect Paro, and again, it goes on and on. And Pacquiao, to some extent, didn't respect Horn at all. So what did they do? They went out there, they started fast, and they got their respect, and they got on a bit of a roll, and gained momentum throughout the fight. Michael went out there very tentative, very timid, very reactive, and Erizlandi Lara said, well, this guy's got absolutely nothing that I should be scared of, and as soon as he had an opportunity, bang, bang, and all over. So, look, we don't know how fighters are going to react under the bright lights. You know, we get that. But that, for me, was the main thing I could see on the night. And instead of what we saw the other night with Tommy Brown, really good jab that he started with, good, solid, spearing type of jab against Tommy Brown. Against Erizlandi Lara, he was pouring it out very, very meekly. And as a result, Lara just timed it and just went bang, bang. And again, that's it. So good fighters just will not let you off the hook. So sometimes you have to, even though it's risky, I know, you have to go out there and just take it to these guys early. Look at what George Kambosos did against Lopez. Went out there, and I'm sure he would have been very, or feeling the nerves against a great fighter like Teofimo Lopez, but he didn't show, and he went out there and he just threw the biggest right hand he could, as fast and hard as he could, dropped Lopez, and the rest is history. That was the issue with Michael Zerafa. Showed far too much respect to Lara, didn't back himself, and paid the price. All right, Peter, with how easy Paro, rockets Brock, there is no way he stands up to Nikita Barrage. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see though, Peter. Brock, you got to remember, Brock was severely drained at those lower weights. Now, he was a little bit thicker at 140. Before that, he was fighting at, 122. So he went up to 140, and now he's going to be fighting at 154, maybe even 160. So I'm going to be curious to see how Brock handles the extra weight. I just think the Paro punch was just a ripper shot, Peter. I don't think really weight had that much to do with it, I suppose, if you're being honest. It was just a beautifully timed shot by Liam Paro. But you're right, Nikita, southpaw as well, similar type of fighter to Paro when you think about it. So who knows, he might be open to that as well. But I think Brock would have learned a lot from the Paro fight and maybe won't come out as haphazard that he did against Liam Paro. I've heard No Limit sacked Hardman. Look, I did hear that too, Big J. But I'm going to believe what Hardman said, or Isaac Hardman said, that it was a mutual agreement. Isaac, No Limit couldn't really get Isaac the real fights he was after. But when you think about it, I suppose, you know, what side you believe. At the end of the day, they did give Isaac a really good fight last time out, and he couldn't deliver. So maybe it was No Limit. He said, look, Isaac, I just don't think you really fit the bill for us, and we're not really interested in really funding or investing in your career. And maybe Isaac said, well, that's it, I'm out of here. I don't know. We'll never know. But I have heard rumours as well, Big J. But at the end of the day, he's not with No Limit no more, and that's all that matters. And I just wish the best for him, because he brings a lot to the table for Aussie boxing. I think he's a real character. The Hardman and Zerafa fight was a match made in heaven. It just how much better would it have been if it had been on a big platform like a No Limit show? It would have been fantastic. Was that Hardman's behaved badly after a recent loss, and I think they may have ended him with No Limit. Okay, Peter. Yeah, okay. I didn't know that. If that was the case, yes, the plot does thicken, Asbot. That's for sure. He seems like he really struggles when he loses. Yeah, well, fighters have got big egos, Asbot. Fighters don't like to lose. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really see it that way. I thought he was okay when he lost his last fight. The Zerafa fight would have been really hard for him to handle because he was very, very confident he'd win that fight, and he got chinned early, and he didn't really get a chance to show what he had. I just thought the last fight he was just a little bit outclassed, a little bit out of his depth. So, but I wasn't aware that he behaved badly, but I don't know what goes on behind the closed doors there. Why the hell is the Petr fighting Tevin Farmer a washed-up, blown-up super featherweight? That's a BS fight. Couldn't agree more, Big J. Tevin Farmer, I know he beat Billy Dibb, what was it, about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago? Hasn't really done a lot since. So Petr is on the up. Look, maybe it's a showcase fight, Big J. Maybe we don't know who's on the rest of the card yet. So maybe they just thought, we'll get Zepeda in. We want to showcase him. But for me, it's not the type of fight that's going to get me buying the card, put it that way. I mean, I'm going to buy it anyway, let's face it. But, yeah, I'm with you there, Big J. It is a BS fight. Cook Island Carl. Remember Bam Bam Flanagan, bro. That guy was a good fighter. Fought Jai, Mason, Lebedev, Gulamarian. What a warrior Mark was, and had power too and skills. And ticker, Carl. He had a lot of ticker, a lot of heart. And you're right, he did fight all those against any of them. I'm a big fan of Bam Bam Flanagan and hope he's doing well in retirement. To really have, say, a Jai Apataya against a real top-line cruiserweight, but I sort of get also that going into the American market, they probably want a name like Shakur Stevenson as that co-main event to sort of carry the rest of the card. Yeah, I don't know. The whole card. I wouldn't be surprised even if the Better Beef and Bivol fight doesn't rate very highly either. I know we're all looking forward to it as fight fans, but the average fan in America is not really going to be too concerned, are they? So November, not December. Okay. Guys, I think we've almost reached the end of the line here. We've got a couple of minutes to go. We're almost at the end. We are at the end of the comments there. I don't think we've got anything else to cover except to tell you that, yes, I will be doing daily vlogs. I'll repeat again, so keep a lookout on YouTube. I'll put the link on Instagram and all that sort of stuff. I'll keep you as up to date as I can. Again, I'll be in Philadelphia, then Deer Lake, then Shanksville for the 9/11 thing, Gettysburg for the battlefields, and then down to Washington to finish off. Hopefully, there's not a lot of unrest down in Washington at this time. We're getting close to the election, aren't we? A lot of very sensitive people in Washington at the moment, so hopefully it's all okay. Not too much unrest, and then of course cross across to Las Vegas for Canelo and Belunga. So guys, thanks again for tuning in. Really can't wait to get over there. And I'll keep you up to date as much as we can and look forward to catching up when I return. Have a great one, guys.